Beauty and the Beast. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a young girl named Belle. Belle was kind-hearted and loved by everyone in her village. She was known for her beauty, but it was her gentle nature and love for books that truly set her apart. One day, Belle's father, Maurice, an elderly inventor, set out on a journey to showcase his latest invention at a nearby fair. As he traveled through the dense, dark forest, a sudden storm broke out. Rain poured down, and the wind howled, causing Maurice to lose his way. His horse, Philippe, became frightened and ran off, leaving Maurice alone and lost. Seeking shelter, Maurice stumbled upon a mysterious, dark castle hidden deep in the forest. The castle was imposing, with tall towers and gargoyles perched on the roof. Desperately, Maurice approached the grand, iron gates and pushed them open. He cautiously entered the eerie courtyard, overgrown with thorny vines. Inside, the castle was dark and cold, with cobwebs hanging from the chandeliers and dust covering the furniture. Maurice called out,
"Hello, is anyone here?"
but received no response. Venturing deeper, he found a grand dining hall with a magnificent feast laid out. Starving, Maurice took a seat and began to eat. Suddenly, a shadow fell over him. Maurice looked up to see a fearsome beast standing in the doorway. The beast was tall, with sharp claws, a mane of wild hair, and glowing eyes. He wore tattered clothes that hinted at a once regal past.
"Who dares to enter my castle and feast at my table?"
The beast roared. Trembling, Maurice tried to explain, but the beast saw him as an intruder. Despite Maurice's pleas, the beast captured him and locked him in a dark, cold dungeon. Maurice didn't know that the beast was once a handsome and noble prince, living a life of luxury and excess. The prince was known throughout the kingdom for his wealth, but also for his arrogance and lack of compassion. One fateful night, an old beggar woman came to the castle, seeking shelter from a storm. She offered him a single rose in exchange for a place to stay. The prince, disgusted by her appearance, cruelly turned her away. The beggar woman warned him not to be deceived by appearances, as true beauty is found within. When he dismissed her again, she revealed herself to be a powerful enchantress. She cast a dreadful curse on the prince, transforming him into a fearsome beast. The enchantress also cursed the castle and all who lived there, turning the servants into enchanted objects. She left the prince with the rose, now an enchanted flower, and told him that the only way to break the spell was to learn to love and be loved in return before the last petal fell. Years passed, and the beast lost all hope of breaking the curse. He became reclusive and bitter, believing that no one could ever love a monster. The enchanted rose continued to wither, marking the passage of time and the beast's dwindling chance of redemption. Maurice's capture in the beast's castle set the stage for an unexpected twist of fate. Far away, in a quaint village, Maurice's daughter, Belle, was living a humble and peaceful life. Belle was kind-hearted, intelligent, and courageous, and she loved her father dearly. When Maurice's horse, Philippe, returned home without him, Belle knew something was terribly wrong. She didn't hesitate for a moment and set out on a perilous journey to find her father, guided by Philippe through the dark and foreboding forest. Belle's bravery and determination led her to the gates of the beast's castle. The imposing structure loomed before her, dark and foreboding, with twisted vines and gargoyles guarding its entrance. Despite her fear, Belle pushed open the heavy, creaking doors and stepped into the grand, eerie halls. The castle's interior was magnificent yet eerie, filled with ornate, dusty furniture and dimly lit by flickering candles. Following the faint sounds of her father's desperate calls, Belle descended a winding staircase that led to the cold, dark dungeon. There, she found Maurice locked in a small, damp cell, looking weak and frail. Maurice reached out to her, his eyes filled with relief and worry.
Dear, you must leave this place.
He pleaded.
It's too dangerous.
Belle shook her head, determined to save her father no matter the cost. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the dungeon, and the beast emerged from the shadows. He was a towering figure with sharp claws, piercing eyes, and a fearsome presence. Belle stood her ground, despite her fear, and pleaded with the beast to release her father.
Please, let my father go.
She begged, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes.
He's sick and needs to return home.
The beast, taken aback by Belle's courage and selflessness, considered her request. After a moment of silence, he spoke in a deep, rumbling voice.
I will release your father,
He said.
but only on one condition. You must take his place as my prisoner.
Without hesitation, Belle agreed, knowing that she could not leave her father to suffer.
I will be fine, Father. Go home and get well.
Now alone in the castle, Belle faced an uncertain future with the beast. Despite her fear, she remained resolute, her heart filled with hope and courage. As days turned into weeks, Belle and the beast slowly began to know each other. One chilly evening, Belle decided to explore the vast library she had discovered earlier. The room was filled with towering shelves of books, their spines covered in dust. To her surprise, the beast joined her. He seemed hesitant, almost shy, as he offered her a selection of his favorite books.
I hope you find these interesting.
He said gruffly, his eyes avoiding hers. Belle's eyes lit up with genuine gratitude.
Thank you.
She replied warmly.
I love reading.
Their shared love for books became a bridge between them. They spent hours in the library, discussing stories and characters, and gradually, the beast's guarded demeanor began to soften. One afternoon, Belle found the beast in the garden, tending to a patch of roses. She watched him for a moment, noticing the gentleness in his movements.
You have a beautiful garden.
She said, approaching him. The beast looked up, a hint of a smile on his face.
Thank you. I find peace here.
He admitted. Belle knelt beside him, helping to prune the roses.
It's lovely.
She said softly.
Just like the stories we read.
One evening, Belle playing a soft tune on the piano. The beast realized how much he had grown to care for her. He began to fall in love with Belle, his feelings deepening with each passing day. One evening, after many days of growing closer, the beast decided to invite Belle to a grand dinner. He nervously prepared for the evening, donning his finest clothes, a richly embroidered coat of deep blue velvet, adorned with gold accents. When the time came, the beast approached Belle's room and gently knocked on the door. Belle opened it, looking radiant in a beautiful golden gown the servants had helped her prepare.
Good evening, Belle.
He said softly, offering his arm.
Would you do me the honor of joining me for dinner?
Belle smiled warmly and took his arm.
I'd love to.
She replied. They made their way to the grand dining hall, which was lit with a warm glow of countless candles and adorned with beautiful flowers. The long table was set with the finest china and silverware, and an exquisite meal was laid out before them. Throughout the meal, the beast did his best to be a gracious host. Belle, noticing his efforts, appreciated his kindness and thoughtfulness. They laughed and talked, sharing stories and enjoying each other's company. After dinner, he took Belle to the grand ballroom, a magnificent space with high ceilings, sparkling chandeliers, and walls lined with mirrors. The room was bathed in the soft, golden light of 1,000 candles, creating an atmosphere of enchantment. They began to dance, slowly at first, then more gracefully as the beast found his rhythm. Belle's gown swirled elegantly around her as they moved together in perfect harmony. For a moment, the entire castle seemed to come alive with magic and hope. As the final notes of the waltz echoed through the ballroom, the beast gently drew Belle closer. They stood there for a moment, breathing in the magic that surrounded them.
Thank you for this evening.
Belle whispered, her eyes shining with emotion.
It was truly wonderful.
However, as time went on, Belle's thoughts increasingly drifted to her father. She missed him deeply and worried about his well-being. The beast noticed the sadness in her eyes. He approached her with a tender look of concern.
Belle, I can see that your heart is heavy.
The beast said gently.
What troubles you?
Belle sighed, her voice filled with longing.
I miss my father. I worry about him, especially now that I'm not there to take care of him.
The beast, moved by her sincerity and selflessness, decided to help. He led Belle to a small, ornate table in one of the castle's grand rooms. On the table lay an intricately designed mirror with a golden frame, adorned with tiny, shimmering gemstones that seemed to sparkle with their own light.
This is a magical mirror.
The beast explained, lifting it carefully and presenting it to Belle.
It will show you whatever you wish to see.
Belle's eyes widened in surprise and gratitude.
Thank you.
She whispered, taking the mirror in her hands.
Show me my father.
She said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. The surface of the mirror began to ripple like water, and an image gradually appeared. Belle saw her father, Maurice, looking frail and ill. He was alone in their cottage, coughing and shivering as he struggled to stay warm. The sight of her beloved father in such a pitiable state brought tears to Belle's eyes.
He's sick.
She whispered, her voice choked with concern.
He's all alone and needs help.
The beast, seeing her distress, felt a pang of empathy. Despite his own feelings for Belle, he knew that she needed to be with her father.
If you wish to go to him, you may. Your happiness means more to me than anything else.
Belle turned to the beast, her eyes filled with gratitude and sorrow.
Thank you for understanding. I promise I'll come back.
Belle hurried to leave the castle. As she left, she felt the gaze of the beast, who stood silently, watching her with a mixture of longing and acceptance. Seeing Belle, Maurice's face lit up with relief and joy despite his illness.
My dear, you've come back.
He exclaimed weakly.
Yes, Father.
Belle said, rushing to his side and embracing him gently.
I'm here now and I'll take care of you.
But the villagers, filled with fear and misunderstanding about the beast, gathered together and formed an angry mob. Armed with torches and weapons, they marched through the forest, determined to destroy what they perceived as a monstrous threat. Meanwhile, Belle, who had just seen the villagers' intentions through the magical mirror, felt a surge of panic. Realizing that the beast's life was in grave danger, she quickly mounted her horse and raced back through the dark, twisted woods towards the castle. She arrived just in time to find the beast injured and weak from fighting the villagers. He lay on the ground, battered and breathing heavily. She knelt beside him, gently cradling his head in her arms.
Please don't leave me. I love you.
She whispered, tears streaming down her face. Suddenly, the castle was filled with a bright, dazzling light. The curse was broken because Belle had declared her love for the beast. Before her eyes, the beast transformed back into a handsome prince. The enchanted servants also regained their human forms. The prince and Belle stood together, filled with joy and relief. They knew their love had conquered the darkest of curses. And so, Belle and the prince lived happily ever after, their hearts forever united by the strength of their love. The castle, once a place of darkness and despair, was now filled with light, love, and laughter. Belle and the prince ruled their kingdom with kindness and wisdom, ensuring that the story of their enduring love would be remembered for generations to come.